Since the beginning of time, mankind has struggled in a world where only the strong survive, a world in which we have learned to adapt when necessary and change what we could. With our innate abilities, we have searched out, found, and created what we have needed. The human race has flourished. We have overcome countless obstacles, lived through disasters beyond measure, and conquered almost everything that has stood in our way. Yet with all that we have accomplished, we have fallen short in one critical battle, the battle against our oldest enemies. Illness, sickness, disease. They have thrived among us like a never-ending nightmare, taking hundreds of millions of lives, most of them far too soon. Yes, we have made tremendous strides through medicinal breakthroughs and surgical wonders, but even now we survive only meekly against their onslaught. We must honor those who have dedicated their lives to these fields, for without them, millions more would have been lost. And yet, time marches on. New threats emerge, an influenza virus, a cancer, a mental illness, another unseen killer that sets us back. We wait for vaccines that never come fast enough. We wait for cures for diseases as old as humanity itself, while thousands die each year, like lambs to the slaughter. Is there no end? Perhaps there is. Perhaps the time has come to stop throwing band-aids at our suffering. Perhaps we can end pestilence, once and for all. Perhaps our time has finally come. The World Wellness Project, designed and developed by the Foundation of Life organization, was created to systematically inoculate candidates chosen from around the world, in such a way that its true scope would remain hidden until it could no longer be stopped. The inoculations would contain a revolutionary creation, the Genetics Replicating Nanosurgical Robot, or NSB, conceived by Dr. Atifa Murshid, lead biotechnologist of the Foundation of Life, with the full support of its research teams, and built upon invaluable genetic engineering research by Dr. Salister Hayden, the organization's founder. These vaccinations would be given quietly, through routine inoculations, at over 1,300 clinics worldwide. It was the largest project the organization had ever undertaken, projected to take 4 years to complete, costing billions. Yet the team was certain its impact would reach the entire world. The nanosurgical bots were designed to read and assimilate a host's genetic blueprint, then replicate themselves within that host. Once integrated, they would search out abnormalities and correct, rebuild, restructure, or simply destroy them. They would adapt to their host's genetic code, an ability born from research into one of humanity's deadliest viruses, HIV. From it, they borrowed aggressiveness but turned it to healing. With this power, the NSBs could strengthen the immune system, make the host impervious to illness, and even rebuild the body when needed, repairing organs, mending tissues, restoring bone. In moments of crisis, they could induce a coma or hypothermia, buying precious time and turning the impossible into survival. The ultimate goal was to give every human being the ability to live, free from disease, free from genetic misfortune, and free from the suffering that has haunted us since the dawn of time. Thus, humanity would no longer be the ultimate host to pestilence. We would truly flourish. Senator James Benton of Wisconsin settled onto the sofa in his office and switched on the flat-screen television. He tuned to World News Now and sat back and waiting for a special segment on Your World in 30. He'd heard the show was running an exclusive report on a major development in the flu pandemic. The teasers had been vague, offering no specifics, only hints that it was something big. As a public figure, Benton made it a point to stay ahead of national developments, even when they didn't directly involve him. Benton had endured more than his share of challenges during his first term in office, yet his political career rose quickly. By his third term, he'd been appointed head of the Appropriations Committee, a position many senators would have done anything to obtain. For Benton, it was simply the latest in a long line of ambitions fulfilled. Raised in Wisconsin, he'd spent most of his youth working on the family farm. In high school, he participated, some would say reluctantly, in the JROTC program at the urging of his father, a highly decorated retired major general. That same paternal influence sent him to West Point. Though James had never truly aspired to military life, he performed well at the academy. Upon graduating as a second lieutenant with a Bachelor of Science degree, he was never required to serve the usual 5 years of active duty. Instead, Arrangements were made for him to fulfill his obligation with the Wisconsin National Guard, 1 weekend a month for most of the term. Shortly after, his father announced at a private dinner party that James would be running for the Senate. "Sir, can I pour you a drink?" Brenda Hughes asked. "Sure, 2 fingers of brandy, if you would." "Coming right up," she said, rising from her desk and walking to the liquor cabinet. Brenda had been Benton's personal aide for 3 years. Stunningly beautiful and sharply intelligent, she had climbed quickly to her position, something she'd fully expected. She'd set her sights on Benton long before graduating law school and had been anything but coy about it. "Hands down, he's the most powerful senator on the Hill," she'd told her friends. "You know the old saying, shoot for the stars and at worst you end up in orbit," or something like that. Her friends often teased her, citing Benton's past scandals and affairs with younger women and pointing out his age. She dismissed it with a sly smile. "Perhaps he's not as young as I'd like, but being head of the Appropriations Committee helps a young woman overlook such things." She spoke of him often, knowing the more she did, the more likely it would reach his ears. By the time she graduated, Benton's rocket, so to speak, was aimed squarely her way. You're watching World News Now with Morgan Porter and Sandra Howard. The voiceover signaled the end of the station break as the cameras returned to the anchors. And now, on a sadder note, we go to our medical correspondent, Brett Hammond, in our Atlanta office for an update on the flu pandemic that has taken so many from us. A warning banner scrolled along the bottom of the screen. Viewer warning. The following may be inappropriate for younger viewers. Parents, please be advised. Brett Hammond looked into the camera, his tone grave. "Good evening, Morgan, and though I'm sure you mentioned this, I'll remind viewers to please remove children from earshot. There's no way to sugarcoat this, so I'll share the information exactly as I've received it. I apologize if this offends anyone. I know many have lost loved ones and friends during this pandemic. My heart goes out to you. But this news, however grim, must be heard. First, as we have every night since the pandemic struck, we'll share a moment of silence for those we've lost." He bowed his head. Over by the liquor cabinet, Brenda paused in her task and stood silently as well. "As you know, we are now in our 3rd week of what the CDC calls the worst influenza pandemic in history. As of this morning, the global death toll has reached 40 million, surpassing the number lost in the 1918 influenza outbreak, which claimed nearly as many lives over the course of 2 years. On screen, a rotating world map displayed the virus's spread, with the highest casualties in China and India. Earlier today, I spoke with Howard Bernstein, head of the CDC. He continues to urge people to stay home and go out only when absolutely necessary. On a positive note, the CDC's website has been updated with tips for reducing your risk of contracting the virus. Morgan's voice broke in from the anchor desk. "Well, Brett, any news on how to combat the virus is good news at this point." "Yes, Morgan, it is. I just wish there was more we could do. Knowing you, Brett, I'm sure you're doing all you can, and I'd like to think every doctor is doing the same." "I'm sure they are." The feed returned to Morgan and Sandra. "Thank you for the update, Brett. That wraps it up for us tonight, folks, but stay tuned. You won't want to miss our next segment. Michelle Lee has a special report on one doctor who seems to have gone viral himself, at least on the internet. For World News Now, this is Morgan Porter. "And I'm Sandra Howard," she added. Saying goodnight, stay safe, and we'll see you tomorrow. Your World in 30 is next. As the station went to commercial, Brenda handed Benton his drink over the back of the sofa. "Sir, is there anything else I can do for you tonight? Did you send off all those requests to Power and Energy?" "Yes, sir. And I finished your spending report as well," she said with a smile. "And how did that turn out?" "I'm confident you'll be happy. The report shows you're 100% justified in all expenditures this year." She set her empty glass on the sofa table and began massaging his shoulders. "I don't see any problems at all." "My God, girl, you have the hands of a goddess," he murmured, melting under her touch. "How did you cover our trip to Maui?" "That was easy. It was a family emergency. Don't you remember? Your poor mother took sick while on vacation." She leaned down to kiss his neck. "Oh, that's right, my poor sick mother. I hope she got better," he teased, caressing her cheek. "Of course she did, sir. Her appendectomy went very well, despite the grim outlook you'd been given, causing you to drop everything and go be by her side. That's what I love most about you, Bren. You're not just drop-dead gorgeous, but you have a beautiful mind as well. Why, thank you, Senator. I aim to please, she murmured, kissing his ear. Another virtue I appreciate. He glanced at her over his shoulder. Now, bring yourself over here and let's relax for a while, he said, fast-forwarding through the commercial break. Yes, sir, she replied in her well-practiced little girl voice, prancing around the end of the sofa and nestling beside him. If you enjoyed this video, please like and subscribe to our channel for more in this series and many other stories we know you'll love. Don't forget to click the notification bell so you never miss an update.